Welcome back to Melbourne Property TV. Today we're doing something a little bit different on the panel. We've set up a pitch. We've got two of the elder statesmen of Melbourne real estate, Tim Fletcher from Fletchers Real Estate and Tony Pride from Pride Real Estate, to pitch for a property we're putting on the market, and we've decided, Robert Larocca, of course, with us from the REIV. Robert, today we're selling Government House.
Fantastic.
It's a domain set on a lovely 11 hectares, seeing some pictures of it here. Magnificent property. And we're going to throw over to the boys now. They're going to give us a pitch, and then we're going to decide who's the winner.
The governor's moved out?
The governor's moved out. Vacant possession.
Fantastic.
You're going to be the Kyle Sanderlands. I'll be sort of the nice judge.
Okay.
And Tim, I think we've decided, we tossed the coin before the cameras started rolling. It was decided you would lead off the pitch for Government House. How would you go about securing this property sale?
Well, I reckon this is one of the most exciting prospects that I've seen for a long, long time, to be able to sell a property of that calibre on the doorstep of the CBD with 11 hectares of land. Now, heaven forbid, but I've got to say to you, and I've checked with the authorities, I think you can subdivide. And what I'd be proposing is two fronts. One, appealing to the developer, who would, I think, see this as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to redevelop the land, build apartments around Government House with 11 hectares of land with those magnificent views. There are plenty of people around the world that would buy it as a house and leave the gardens intact. So I'd write to all the embassies. I'd certainly write to the top 100 people, the wealthiest people in this country, and I'd market it internationally. And I wouldn't sell it by auction. I'd sell it by expressions of interest, because I think auction would be a bit like the block. I think it'd be doomed from the beginning. I love auctions. Great explainer of the auction system, but I don't think it'd be right for this.
So you wouldn't get Scotty Cam involved?
Definitely not.
Right, okay.
No.
Ballpark, what do you think we're going to get for it?
Well, look, it's a real guess at the moment, but if you threw a few figures in the area, you'd say 100, might be 150, could even be 200 million, who knows? It depends on how much development could be made out of those blocks of land. Now, a lot of people watching this will be going, oh no, don't cut Government House up.
That's what's on the Heritage Register.
You've got to get it through council yet. Yeah,
it might make it, that's right.
Yeah.
The highest and best is the legal use. If you can't do it, you can theorise till the cows come home. But, someone would pay a lot of money for that just to live in it and say, this is my home.
Right. Okay. I mean, now...
Have I sold
Thank you very much. No, very nice, very nice. I'm going to go home and see if I can crunch the figures and buy it myself. Now, Tony, one of the more colourful auctioneering and real estate folk of St Kilda.
But I'm wearing black today.
You are wearing black. You're looking a little bit arty. Give us your pitch for Government.
Well, I'd agree with Tim that I personally think it's probably got more value as a subdivision. I'd take a little bit of a different tack. Coming from where I am in St Kilda, which is a very mixed up community, rich, poor, old, lunatics, wealthy people, lawyers, all the agents from the eastern suburbs are moving there, of course, now, because they want a decent life.
Mixed up's a very kind way of putting it.
That's right. So how I would approach it is a long-term value for the people of Victoria. I would have a mixed use of social housing, and I agree with Tim in apartments, but I would probably restrict it to the existing building. I'm a great admirer of the way the English have done a lot of their country estates, where they've divided them up and they've added a few little bits and pieces, but mainly they keep them intact. So I had a look through the website of the Government House. Very boring, one of the worst websites I've ever seen. Very, very generic, but a number of different rooms there: the stables, the pavilion, the mews, the conservatory, all these different rooms. Now, the way I would approach it, I would probably pick a percentage of them, maybe 40, 50%, to be kept for social housing, and pick an agency like the Ministry of Housing to run that. And the rest of them, I agree with Tim, I wouldn't auction them. I'd do an expressions of interest, because I think he's right. I think an auction wouldn't work here. And I would sell them to individuals that must live there, not investors. So there's some sort of covenant or legal agreement to allow only owner-occupiers there.
So what ballpark are we talking, do you think we're going to make for the place?
Well, as I think Tim's mentioned, 200 million, I better go 300 million. to make myself look very good. But I think Tim's right. You wouldn't know. It's very,
Well, I'll
very
up it to
difficult.
350 if that's the case.
350 million.
Here we
That's
go.
right.
But
So
who
we've got
knows?
an auction. You wouldn't know. You honestly wouldn't know.
Not until you've gone through an extensive marketing campaign, got
Correct.
feedback from the market. Then you could make an informed decision. The government of the day could say, based on all the feedback, we're going to sell it for 200 million or 250. I was just thinking, listening to you, why don't we just stick the Prime Minister there? Give it to her or him and save all this.
They'd suggested that for Stonington Mansion. I think that was one of the pitches, was trying to make that the Treasurer's house or the Prime Minister's residence in Melbourne. But of course,
I don't think
it's
you'll get them
redeveloped.
out of the Sydney mansion. I think if they see where they're sitting there on the harbour side, they'd rather stay there.
And plus, when she's in Melbourne, she's very happy in Altona.
That's
in her
what they
two-bedroom
say. You know,
flat.
we've seen the photos. Why not?
All right, now, Robert, you've heard the two pitches, and obviously these boys would make a nice, handy commission out of it if they do ever get to sell Government House.
I was going to ask, what's the commission?
Can we beat you down on it?
Well, given it's the state of Victoria and we need all the help we can get, I'd do it for nothing.
Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic!
that's right.
Good
I'd
man.
actually donate money to the welfare housing.
How
Now,
much
if you
would
can
the-
believe that?
What
That's
would the stamp
fantastic.
duty be on
Yeah,
it?
that's right. And that's why no stamp duty. I don't think there'd be no stamp duty on
no
it.
stamp
So
duty.
I think it'd be. It depends whether the government really wants to make a lot of money immediately out of it, and we all know money. The only thing I'd insist if they gave it to me is they paid the marketing costs up front, because I don't want to be waiting for 2 years to get paid from the government, which I think would be a very fair chance.
I
Wouldn't
agree
it?
with that.
That's entirely reasonable. I mean, you know, from the perspective of the best use for the community of a big block of land, I mean, that notion of the social housing is fantastic, of course. But, you know, when I was thinking about how you would market it, I did think of the international campaign, because ultimately they say it's the biggest of the government houses built in the former British Empire. So we've got the biggest and the best already, biggest ballroom of any of them. So, you know, there's probably only 100 buyers out there in the world that can afford to stump up for it. So I think the international campaign is a dead necessity. But you're also going to have a general media campaign just to bring it to everyone's attention. So, you know, the international campaign, I like that idea. I think that's going to be effective. And the social angle, well, that's where the heart is. And, you know, if your government had a big bit of land, that'd be a good thing to do with it.
All right, well, gentlemen, it's been a very interesting exercise, selling Government House. Thank you you've obviously put in a lot of time thinking about
Hours,
this.
hours.
Hours, Tim. I think real estate's the winner, Robert.
Of course,
today.
real estate's
We won't
the winner.
declare a winner.
Well,
They're cheaping it.
We've got some awards coming up at the REIV.
Yep.
We'd have to enter this in the above 2 million marketing category, I reckon.
I think in the
Take it out.
way above 2
Yes.
million category, I think. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen,
for having us.
and giving us an insight into how it all works.
Pleasure.